Callow, cocking with a hot pen. You can't kill it with this glove, it will not fit. Evidence will not stick. Rapping with a self-respecting southerner. So bro, what's in your pot? Those are not grits. Spit bars, I stand behind mine. Sentences I serve, maximize guidelines. My lawyer can't give me his advice when these beasts that I murder carry mandatory minimums of life. Yikes. In case you didn't get the point, we spit bars. Ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, welcome to another edition of The Maximum Sentence, where there's conviction behind the bars. I'm your man, AJ Throwback. Great to be here with y'all on another evening. We on a Monday night edition this time around, but it don't matter because we here. And I'm so excited to have another first of its kind episode with my brother, fellow area native, you know what I'm saying, like representing culture, everything. Amazing music producer and pretty dope dancer too, you know what I'm saying, on the tuck. My main man Drew on the keys, you know what I'm saying. How you doing, brother?
What's up, AJ? Thanks for having me on the cast. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, like you being the first official music producer, because, you know, this is a series, as everybody know, this is a series that's focused primarily on lyrics. But the thing is, as a composer, you also compose in bars, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, a different wrinkle, a different layer. And myself also being a music producer, I can definitely appreciate how you approach music and creativity as well. So welcome, my brother.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
The first producer officially on the show.
Yes, indeed. And I also believe in people asking or shooting a shot, and my man Drew just shot his shot. He was like, hey, you know, whenever you ready to bring me on the show, I was like, hey, say less. Yes, indeed.
Share platforms with anyone who has one. So
yeah, absolutely. Yes, and I really appreciate your support as well. You know, like you peeking your head in on a lot of past episodes that I've had as well, you know, and just your support and your positive energy. I definitely appreciate that, man.
Oh yeah, I'm glad to share the vibes, man. Any way I can tap in and support, you know, I'm there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so you know, I always like to start off with people's origin stories, you know, like not only where you're from, but also like what kind of sort of shapes you as a person beyond the music itself, and then what kind of sort of brought you to the music. So you know what I'm saying, let everybody know, like, you know, how you came up. I mean, are you from the area originally, right?
I'm from Maryland, so I always lived in the area. Both my parents Jamaican, but I was born here. Always lived in Maryland. Grew up in like the Silver Spring area, county. You know, I really didn't get into music until like high school. So before that, you know, I was really just into like, you know, I mean, I was always like a fan of music, and, you know, was always outside, just doing normal stuff, like, you know, just outside riding bikes, whatever, just playing. I was into video games really heavier before I started getting into music, but, you know, always lived around Maryland, just, you know, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
You know, started playing to get like 15.
Okay. So what, because that's interesting, because we kind of have similar stories when it comes to that, because I didn't really start getting into music until 15, 16 myself. So for you, what was that spark that made you want to like get into music at that time?
Well, like, so my dad and my granddad had a record store. They had a Jamaican record store, West Indian record store, like when records were big. So, you know, I had worked in the store a few times. So, you know, at that time, I still wasn't really into it like that. But then my mom got me taking piano lessons so I could start playing at the church. And so I started taking lessons. Couldn't play it in the church right away because I wasn't good enough to play the church yet, because, you know, the church got some of the best musicians ever.
You gotta come right in church.
Right, you gotta come right. So I started taking lessons when I was like 15, and then pretty much as soon as I started learning how to play, I had a little keyboard in the house, and then like we made a band in the neighborhood, and then like, you know, we just started practicing, started gigging. I barely knew how to play, but, you know, just started from there. Started playing go-go.
Yeah.
And, you know, just kept learning from there. Kept taking lessons. Ended up playing in church eventually. Played for a bunch of different bands. Shout out to all the bands I played with. I could list them. It's probably like at least 10.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can list them because I always want to shout my bands out. But first band was called Shut 'Em Down Band.
Mm.
Then after Shut 'Em Down was KOB. And then after KOB, played for TMA. After TMA, it was who was it? New Vision band. After New Vision, who was it? Untold Secrets, and Go-Go Symphony, then TCB was the biggest band I played with.
Yeah.
But I'm probably missing some, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to count all the bands.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So between playing in go-go bands, like I learned how to produce along the way. And, pretty much I was really just producing like R&B and like trap, hip hop stuff. And then it wasn't really until like recently, until recently that I started really making go-go beats for real. And then that's just what happened to really start blowing.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, like, that's honestly how I got familiar with you, because I think one of the first ones that I remember hearing from you was when you remixed the Erica Banks joint.
Oh, yeah, that was the first one I did, really.
Wow.
Like, that was the first remix I did, really. The first go-go remix, yeah. I was the one. And then I saw a response to that, and I'm just like, okay, this is what people want to hear. I'm like, I could do this all day. Like,
right.
It's like half my life, like, been producing, like, it's nothing. Like,
yeah.
Just putting the two together.
And the way that you do it is that, like, whenever I hear your remixes, it's a thing where once you hear your remix, you don't want to hear the original again. Like, I couldn't even hear the Erica Banks joint, the B-Box 2 joint, even the Glorilla joint you did recently. Yeah. Like, all three of them joints is like, I'm good on hearing original. Like, I want to hear your version of it.
I be the same way when I hear it. I be waiting for my tag. I'm like, oh wait, nah, that's not my
Yeah, that's when you know you onto something special and you doing it. You doing something right. Because I mean, I came up in an era where, there were always go-go remixes on the radio. Like, you turn on 93, 95, and they didn't remix something. And sometimes them joints would be cool, but then other times I'm like, yeah, they could have left that one alone. You know what I mean? Like, they ain't even need a go-go remix for that. But your joints, I'm like, yeah, you because I think because you come from a slightly different era than say maybe I did. Like, you come from a little bit, and I'm sure you appreciate like the classic go-go, but like you having more of the bounce beat element to what you do. I think that's what kind of sort of resonates a little bit more. And with a lot of the music that's out now, it really improves the song like exponentially. You know?
Respect.
Yeah.
Really, it's like trap and bounce. They have like kind of the same. It's like the same tempo already, and it's just like the sounds blend good. And like I know with most of the remixes that have been on the radio before, it would probably be like sockets or pockets for the remixes. And like I know a lot of times a DJ might just have a pocket on loop, and then they might just blend the other song together and do that kind of remix. But with mine's, every beat I do, I make it from scratch. So it's like I'm making a new bounce beat for every remix. So I think that's also like, something that's people want to hear, like, okay, how am I gonna make the beat, how am I gonna make the bounce fit this beat? Because like I'm always trying to make it different to match the beat. Like the cadences are always gonna match whatever song I'm remixing.
Yeah. And I that is what makes what you do special. Like you really, I can tell you study whatever the song is, and I feel like you do your best to like keep the original kind of sort of soul of the song or spirit of the song, but you put your own flair on it and make it something brand new, even though there might be those elements from the original there.
I try to keep it, I try to leave the music of that song in place, and just kind of just accent on what's already there. Like if it's a cadence that they might be rapping, I might just try to accent on that cadence, or like
Mm,
maybe add the brass hits on top of a melody that they have, and just kind of just like enhance it. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's dope. And we definitely going to dig deeper into that, when it comes to the two songs that you sent in and everything. But I wanted to ask you because I mean you talked about your Jamaican roots, but
mm,
also you being from the area, from Maryland.
mhm,
I mean, of course, loving go-go, loving bounce beat,
mm,
and but you also said how you've done R&B as
yeah,
well and trap as well. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? So like, how does your roots inform what you do? Whether you're talking your Jamaican roots, whether you're talking your DC roots,
mhm,
whether you're talking even like getting started in the church, because I feel like the church really is a foundation for a lot of producers, a lot of artists,
mhm,
and there's a different kind of vibe to music when you have that foundation on top of the other parts of your foundation you have. So talk
yeah,
about how all of those things inform how you create music and how you see music.
sure, sure. So, coming from like my cultural background, if anybody knows anything about Jamaicans, we love to party, dance.
Yeah.
Anytime you see a Jamaican party, they doing some wild dances, partying, looking like, they wrestling with someone. Like, the rhythm is already there. So it's like,
Yeah.
even before I was making music, I feel like I just kind of had like that rhythm, like, whether it was just maybe dancing or something, or just like making a beat on the table. Like even before I was really making beats, I feel like I already had that, that energy with me, with the culture, and just, and with reggae and everything, that's a live, that's another live art form that's similar to go-go, really. It's really band based, so it's like they'll reggae bands and go-go bands, like if you really sit there and watch the instruments, they got some of the same instruments, you know
Yeah.
so and then of course the go-go coming up, playing with all the different bands, playing with all these good musicians, definitely iron sharpens iron. So the better musicians you play with, the better you want to get. And
Yeah.
just having that experience just to play live music, like, is really it makes you better as a musician to just be able to play in a band. It's just like, because you're playing by ear, you're learning stuff on the spot, so you just learning how to improvise, and then all that you learn from playing live, you can translate into production, so it
Mm-hmm.
makes it easier. So I learned how to play piano way before I really started producing. Like I didn't start producing until like a few years like after I was just playing piano.
Yeah.
So since I knew the music theory, and bringing the culture from go-go, you know, being Jamaican, everything, blending that all together, just I put all that into producing. So it's just like and also church too. So you know, church has some crazy chords. Like church music is
Yes.
always like church, yeah, church got some of the best music ever. Like,
Yes, it does.
so,
Yes, it
all
does.
that soulfulness, you can take that, like some of those church chords, and put that into R&B,
Mm-hmm.
like those chords, and just like even with church bands, that's another it's another way to get experience of live music, playing in the church. So, putting all that together, I'm pretty much able to pull from all those and lay that down onto a track, and kind
Yeah.
of have that live feeling kind of, resonate within the track. Even though it's digital, I can pull from all my live playing experience and put that onto a track.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's having that experience the way that you've had it. It's one of those things. It can be, or what I've seen from some people who are musicians who transition into music production. It can be one of those tricky things.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, and it's going to end up being a question, but the transition from live music to music production, because you're kind of sort of talking about two different types of frequencies.
Yeah.
Like you're talking the live aspect where you get a certain type of reaction from people
Hmm.
versus translating that into something that's more consumable for your average listener. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Mhm.
So for you, how did you make that transition without maybe overthinking the process? of producing versus like how you might approach being a live musician or being a musician who understands theory?
Hmm. Well, so I had to just learn how to, like, with some beats, I had to learn to not put too much music into them, depending on what type of beat it would be, and just to
Mm-hmm.
like kind of not do too much, and to really like learn, like the frequencies of mixing, and just like learn drum placement, and just really learn the program, because knowing how to play music doesn't mean you know how to make a beat. So I had to really just learn the program. So the program that I use most of the time is Fruity Loops.
Mm.
So I just had to really just learn how to use Fruity Loops, learn my drum placement, learn what sounds good, just learn not to put too much. Cause like at first my beats just had kind of like probably too much music,
Yeah.
and like the drums weren't tight enough. So I had to get my drums better and just know when I had to just put just enough music in it, and just where to place it, song placement, versus playing live. It's just like, especially in go-go, it's just like you just giving everything. It's just party, it's just up here. And it's just like you just playing, you just going. And it's just like it's like I wouldn't necessarily be controlling the music. The lead talker is going to switch the songs and do the hand signs, and we just follow
Yeah.
the cues. But when you're producing, you got to know where you placing the music. You got to say, okay, this is the intro, like this is the hook, this is the verse, and it's like, so you're more hands on with it. So it's just like, all those things, kind of like a learning curve. But once you have both, I feel like it's like the best of both worlds, because it's some producers that's really good producers, but they don't really know how to play instruments. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like they might have to draw in the notes, and do things like that, or use samples. But if you know how to play an instrument, you can just lay it down into your program and boom, keep it going. So it's just like once you have both, you can
Yeah.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful what you said in terms of the whole thing of over time kind of sort of learning the art of production when it comes to less is more, because that's something honestly that I had to learn as well, is that like I'm from somebody, of course, coming from DC and
Hmm.
being somebody who loves go-go music. I mean, the thing about even go-go music is not as much music. Depending on the band that's playing, is not a whole ton of music. It's not like you got like a 10-piece orchestra or something crazy like that. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? But not only coming from that, but also with Philly soul music from the 70s being my favorite music, I'm listening to Gamble and Huff. I'm listening to how they compose things. And I'm like, yo, I want to do that for rap. But you can't really do that for rap. You
Right.
know what I'm
Like
saying?
R&B, really, it's like it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like you really have to, like you said, frequencies. You have to understand how to caress whoever the vocalist is, whether you're talking a singing vocalist or
Mhm.
rap vocalist. You have to frame those sounds around that person's voice, the different intonations in their voice, the
Mhm.
pitch of their voice, whether they're somebody who's raspy or somebody who's got like a really clean voice. You
Right.
have to frame what you do around them. And
Mm.
that is an art that not everybody masters right away. Most people don't master it right away, and it takes time and it takes trial and error.
Yep.
So I really appreciate you putting that out there and saying that, because I think that's something that's important for producers who are out here who are getting their feet wet when it comes to producing, to understand that there's an art to that.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Art producing, and then even when you bring artists into it, then you want talking about recording and mixing, and that's a whole other lane. And I do that,
Yeah.
too, but I like to stick to producing. But I
Hmm.
do record, engineer, and mix too. Like I had a session earlier. Track came out pretty nice. Like I rather record artists that are recording on my beats than
Yeah. Yeah.
other beats, but I still do it.
Yeah, yeah. Now I can understand that. I mean, hey, like you would know how to engineer around your own beat anyway. So
Exactly. Right.
yeah, yeah. So definitely wanted to make sure I shout out another fellow producer and a producer who really infuses the go-go element into what he does, and that's none other than my brother Taj Wilson, aka T Black. On the check-in, appreciate you for watching and always supporting, good brother. You know what I'm saying? So one of the things I also wanted to talk to you about is like the people you have. Well, actually, no. Before we get there, I want to go back to the go-go band element. So, you named a lot of the go-go bands that you've worked with.
Mm-hmm.
if you had, I mean, and it doesn't necessarily have to be one band, it could be different pieces from each band that you played with. Like,
Hmm.
what are some of the most valuable things that you've learned playing in those bands? Like, different things that you took away that you ended up like taking with you as you transition into being a music, more of a music producer.
Hmm. Let's see. Definitely shout out to TCB, Bounce Beat Kings. Definitely playing with them. They they the Bounce Beat Kings. So it's just like
Yeah,
playing with them. I'm really learning the intricacies of the bounce. Like it's like some people think it's like easy to bounce, but it's really not. Like so, it's like back in like I guess in like '05, '06 between 2010, there was so many bounce beat bands coming out. Everybody was bouncing. But when you do it at a high level, it's like you really understand like what has to really happen so you really get the sound. It's like things really got to be in sync. It's like you got to make sure like that the bass is sliding with the kicks and
mm,
the volleys is matching that. Like if those three things not in sync, like the bounce is gonna be off. So it's
yeah,
just like you gotta. But I guess like most people wouldn't really know that unless they play for like one of the good bounce beat bands. So learning that. Also learning with all bands, learning like hand signals. Like you got to really be attentive, like when you're playing, because like the lead talker might just flash a hand sign up. Like at any moment, you got to be ready to just switch and
yeah.
what you're doing, switch sounds. So it's just like that. That definitely prepares you for just being being versatile and just being able to receive just being able to switch on the drop of a dime.
Mm,
Um, Another one of my other favorite bands, New Vision. We really they had a lot of musicianship in that band, so it was just like it was good to just push what you could do musically. Like you got three keyboard players. It's like everybody has a certain part they play. One person might be playing the chords, another person is playing the lead,
mm,
another person is playing like maybe some other chords just like stabbing or like another lead. So it's like a lot of times when I make my beats I kind of think, okay, let me at least get like three sounds down, as if it's like a full keyboard section and
mm,
make it sound full. And also I think of it like, okay, let me think of it as like I'm making like a loop. Like some producers just make loop packs, send out loops, but I feel like if I start my beat thinking like that, like let me flesh out the music first and then
mm-hmm.
add the drums, like it comes out more full. But
Yeah,
that's not really for go-go beats. That's for more so like when I'm making like R&B or trap beats. But with the go-go beats, I start with the sample and then I add all the drums and I add the crank. But
ah,
yeah, and I add the bass. Playing in the band. I got to watch everybody playing their instruments. So I'm playing the keys, but I'm still looking over. At the bass player. I'm watching my man Groove. Shout out Groove, TCB. I'm watching him go crazy on the bass. I'm like, yo, like he going crazy, and
yeah,
and then I end up getting a bass. I had a guitar. I had a lead guitar for a while. I wasn't really using it. I ended up getting a bass guitar, and then that's what I use in my beats. That's another reason why my beats sound live because I actually play the bass guitar into them when I
mm,
do the slides. So just even watching him just had me figure out, okay, this is how you do the slides, boom, 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 like all that. So
yeah.
it's just like a lot of different things, that I can just pick up just from playing in all the bands, like just watching the different musicians. I'm like, okay, now I know how to do that. Like not even it wasn't even conscious when I was watching it, but I'm just like, just being around the music, you just absorbing everything.
Yeah, yeah. I can definitely see all of that. Like, kind of sort of having all of those things in mind when you create. You know what I'm saying? As if you're trying to recreate that element, and because you've been in it, it's authentic. Versus somebody who hasn't been in it and is trying to kind of sort of create the sound, but doesn't understand the different intricacies that come with recreating that sound or
Right.
recreating the feeling, because that's really what you're recreating is the feeling
Mm-hmm.
of being in a go-go. You know what I'm saying? Especially bounce beat, because bounce beat just had got a different type of energy. And it's funny because as much as I love like traditional go-go music, you know what I'm saying? Me coming up on that,
Yeah.
the energy of bounce beat is just something totally special to see. Like when you like in an environment like that, it's just I love to see it. You know what I'm saying? And to hear it captured the way that you capture it, and I feel like that's why you have the edge on anybody else doing it. There's no diss to anybody else doing it, but it's just to say because you have that experience of being in the bands and being in so many bands and then being with one of the most known bands, you know what I'm saying, most respected bands in the city. And, you know, that's being TCB. It's like, yeah, you know, like you get it. And that's the best way I can put it, is that you get it and it comes out well.
Appreciate it. Yeah, all the experience pretty much plays a part. So it's like I'm always just able to pull from everything I've learned, everything I've done, just, you know, pull it together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think this is a good time to take a music break and you know, play one of the songs that you sent. I think we're gonna go ahead and start with Lean's Gone Cold. So you know, go ahead and introduce that to everybody. We'll play it, and we'll come back and kind of sort of run through, you know, where your mind was at when you created that one. So just introduce that one to everybody.
Cool. All right, y'all. So yeah, check out Lean's Gone Cold. It's streaming everywhere on all platforms. It's definitely one of my newer bounce beat tracks. Sample Sway Lee on that track, and you'll recognize the melody for sure.
Yes, indeed. All right, so we're gonna play that, come right back, break it down, and continue the conversation right here on the Maximum Sentence, where there's conviction behind the bars. Let's go.
Things don't go to wondering why. Da-da, da-da. 2.5 clouds up my window, and I can't see it all. Even if I could, it would all be great. But these racks stack up too tall. Remind me that it's not so bad. It's not so bad at all.
Yes, sir. That joint right there. I like that. I like that right there. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I was just gonna say, of course, those of us who, came, us hip hop heads, you know what I'm saying? Like, of course, we recognize it for Eminem,
Mm-hmm.
but then also the whole thing with Dido, the original song, you know what I'm saying? Thank you. Like that's what Stan came from. But then to see it flipped again, you know what I'm saying, by Sway Lee and the way he flipped it, and then your drums over top of it, man, when the joint break down and it's just the music, oh my gosh, that's the part that like really really excites you. You know what I'm saying, when you hear that part, because it's like you kind of sort of got like, of course you got the bounce beat drums, but it's like you got a trap element working in there as well. So you
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying, like just talk about how you approach that particular composition, like what you heard when you listened to the original, and how you wanted to kind of sort of frame the music around that particular sample.
For sure, for sure. So pretty much, like I came across Sway Lee on TikTok singing it a cappella, and I'm like, "What's this?" I'm like, he on TikTok, he's singing it. He said, "My lean's gone cold. I'm wondering why." I'm like, first, I'm like, "Wait," he said, "My lean, like ain't lean supposed
Right.
to be cold anyway?" But I'm just like, "All right." He said,
Right.
25 clouds up my window, and I'm like, "Okay." He remixing it. And then he said, my rack stacked up too tall. I'm just like, okay, he remixed, like, okay, I messed with the remix. So then I'm just like, I'm seeing like a lot of people like take like videos and just like sample them, and like, those stuff like that will start going viral. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, this is I could get behind this one. I'm like, I could do something with this one. So I'm just like, so I take the video, I save it to my phone, I send it to my computer, change that to an MP3, put it in Fruity Loops, and then um, I went and listened to Stan and Thank You,
Mm.
just so I could
Mm.
just remember how the chord progressions kind of went.
Yeah.
So I didn't really copy them exactly, but I'm just like, okay, there's a guitar in here, and I'm like, okay, I kind of hear how it's going. So then I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, I got Sway Lee on loop, and I'm just playing the guitar. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun. I'm just going with that. Just with that with the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Then I start adding the strings and everything. And then I'm just like, okay, like it just had that build to it. And, it had the guitar and the strings, and it was just like, just had that effect, just had that feeling. And then, I added the drums. I really had to chop up his sample though, so it could fit, because it was just like he was just singing a cappella. So I
Yeah.
really chop it up so it really fit. But once I added the drums to it, it was a wrap from there.
Yeah.
And that's really like the style of bounce beats that I haven't really put out a lot of that style. Like I have like an original album I've been working on with I'm using like splice samples, like royalty free samples, where I'll take the vocal samples and then I'll make the music around that, and then I'll
Mm.
add the drums, and then I'll add my hi-hats and all that. I'll add the rolling hi-hats and on top of the bounce. And that's kind of a style that I really haven't really pushed out yet, except for this one. So everything else is normally like, okay, I'm remixing it and I'm adding the drums, but it's like I don't have that much freedom with the music because the music's already there. But with this,
Right.
all I had was the vocals. Then I got to build the music and the drums just around the vocals. So that's how I did that.
Yeah.
And then I noticed on, I think in Stan, it starts out when it's raining in the music video. So I
Yeah. Yeah.
found the sound effect, some rain, and put that on the intro of my joint. And then
Yeah.
just that's how it was. And then I just made sure I had my main part, with him singing, and then I had like kind of like a part two, because and bounce beats, there's always a drop off or part two or something where it just gets to cranking. So I just made sure
Right.
after the singing, came to crank, and then that's when I add my claps, add a hi-hat rolls and all that. And the claps and the hi-hat rolls is kind of, that's when you hear that, you just know, okay, it's going to another level. Then I bring it back down to the singing, back to the crank. Then then you got the singing, and then it's like sometimes what lead mics would do, they'll have the singer come in for a little bit and they'll cut them off and go to the crank. So I did that in that track too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love, first and foremost, I love the breakdown of the approach, you know what I'm saying? Because like I hear all of that in there as somebody who remembers, you know, when both of those songs dropped, the originals or the
Hmm.
original Dido's song, but then of course Eminem's song.
Hmm.
And somebody who had just really heard the Lean's Gone Cold for the first time when you sent it. Like I had never even heard the original, like the acapella. So
Yeah,
to
he never
hear
put it
it,
out.
yeah, yeah. You know, but just even the fact what you said was on TikTok at
It
one
was just
point.
TikTok. It was just TikTok
Yeah.
going crazy, and I think he actually performed it, but I don't think he released it. So it's like when I did that, I was able to actually release it to all platforms because it wasn't really a song. So I think
Mm,
people are trying to find it, and then they find mine, and they're like, "Oh wait, but I like this, but like, what's this?" And they might not even know like what's going on. They might not even know it's Go Go, but they
right.
streaming it in like London, like Australia, and everywhere, and they just
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, talk about that. Like, I mean, the fact that you got music streaming in other countries. You know what I'm saying? Like, talk about how they receive. I mean, because a lot of times I feel like people internationally they appreciate music on a different level than us here in the states. You know what I'm saying? I had this conversation the last time when I had on Sunshine Art Therapy on the last episode, and
Mhm.
I was saying the same thing because she was saying all of the different places that she wanted to go, and I feel like when it comes to music and especially black music, I
Mhm.
feel like our music gets appreciated beyond the United States more than it does in the United States. So I mean, like, talk about like your experience, and it might not even just be that song, but just any song or any music that you've put out, how people receive it differently than maybe say here, even in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like definitely on like a, like on a level even like outside of me, like I feel like rap music is always like leading the billboards. If it's not a trap song, it's an R&B song. So we making most of that here. So that's
Mm-hmm.
leading the charts globally. And outside of that, then you got Afro beats. So I feel like between like trap and Afro beats, that's really like what's really going crazy everywhere. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when people find stuff, they find some music and they're not from here, it's like they just appreciate finding something new because they might only be used to like, people who are doing music around them. They might not know like, what's going on outside of their country unless it's like a major hit. So they
Mm-hmm.
find something that they think is good, but it's like kind of underground. And I feel like they kind of appreciate that because it's like, okay, they getting hip to something and they like, okay, they the first to get hip to it. And it's not even a big song yet, but they might be like sharing that with folks. Like if I look up like some stats right now, like I feel like the top locations like on my SoundCloud last 7 days. Number one is DC, but right second is London.
Mm.
After that, okay, let's see. It's just like so. I feel like people are just like music is universal. So it's like even if we're not speaking the same language, you hear the beat, you hear the music, you tuning in. Like number four, Australia,
That's
and
interesting.
yeah. So it's just like it's just music
Yeah.
travels. Like,
Yes, it does, and specifically good music travels. You know what I
hmm
mean? So like that's awesome that you're getting that kind of love, and it really exposes it. It makes even though like I feel like go go bounce beat that's something that's always gonna be like germane to our area. I
hmm
also feel like there are a lot of people in different areas of the country and in different areas of the world
hmm
that appreciate the type of music that we make here,
yeah,
because it just like rhythm is always going to sort of, lead the charge when it comes to breaking down those boundaries.
hmm
Whether, you're talking language barriers, cultural barriers, whatever, when you got good music and you got music that's rhythmic, people are always going to gravitate toward it. And that's the beautiful thing about like go-go and bounce beat is that it's very rhythmic, percussion driven music, and then if you layer the elements like you layer when it comes to the keys, because that's one of the biggest things that I appreciated the most about Lean's Gone Cold was there were elements of R&B in there that I heard. Of
hmm
course, there were elements from the original song without copying the original song.
Yeah.
Like you knew what it was or you knew what it came from,
Hmm.
even if you didn't hear Sway Lee's voice on it, like you knew where it came from.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it's like a little part. It was a way that you played the piano that was very go-go like, because it kind of reminded me of like back in the day when Backyard, whenever they would play like certain beats, like they had a particular part where the piano be like dun, 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 dun. Like that little joint. It kind of reminded me of that, even though it wasn't the same movement. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I guess I just did that, like just not even really knowing. I probably got that from Go-Go. I don't know, but I think I definitely played the chords to it before I even went back and listened to Stan and Thank You. I heard the key and I'm just like, I know it's supposed to be guitar. I'm just like, and I just kind of made the chord. Like I just found the key and just made the chords around it. Then I went back and listened and I was like, those not really the chords that they was playing. But I'm like, it don't matter because I'm in the right key. The right
Right.
works.
Yeah, yeah, that's the most important thing, because like you want, again, like going back to what I said before, like you always manage, whether you do it consciously or subconsciously, you always manage to capture the soul of whatever the original is or whatever the original feeling is, but you put your own spin on it without, copying too much. Like you hear the feeling or you hear the elements, but it's still your touches on it. And that's what I appreciate, just from a composition standpoint. That's what I appreciate the most about it.
Respect, appreciate it. Yeah, I think that's like one of the few that I put out where I actually got to build the music from the ground up. Because normally with the remixes, all the music is already there, so I'm really only adding drums, the brass hits, and the bass, and it's just the music from the song already. But with that, since it was a acapella, I was able to really build the music really from scratch. So definitely I'm gonna be releasing more tracks like that when I drop my album. It's straight original tracks.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, talk a little bit more about that album that you're putting out. I mean,
Hmm.
the fact that you get to showcase more of your range as a producer and the
Yeah,
things that you can do in building a little bit more from the ground up. I mean, you ain't got to give us album names unless you want to, you know what I'm saying, or too much.
yeah.
But just kind of sort of give us an idea of what people can expect from this project.
For sure, for sure. So, you just heard Lean's Gone Cold, expect more like that. You can still expect some samples in there, but it won't be samples that are recognizable. So it's just like I'm using like royalty free samples, but I'm putting like a lot of music behind those samples and then adding the crank. So it's definitely a different range. I got a lot of different types of different like breakdowns, bounce beats. I even got sockets and pockets. So, I'm really going in range. And I even got artists, I even got some featured artists on the track. So you know, it's not just like a remix feel. Like, you actually gonna hear songs on there. Like you gonna hear like some songs that sounds like it's an R&B song. And then they might just like start bouncing out of nowhere. And you're like, okay, oh, this is a go-go song. And then, go back to R&B. So stuff like that. So yeah, I think people really gonna like it, and especially like a lot of people try to find the music. They're like, oh, where is this? Put it on Spotify. Like somebody went down like all my YouTube videos, and they were like Spotify, 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 Spotify. I'm like, bro, I can't like the samples,
Right. Yeah.
but but with this one, it's gonna be everywhere. So people won't have to search and try to find them on my SoundCloud or YouTube. So that's the good thing about it. It's really gonna be everywhere. So I can really go in. Expect some music videos, expect the release party too.
Mm,
You know,
okay.
gonna go
That's
all out for this drop.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Because I mean, that's a huge part of, what we do as creators. We want to be able to put our music out there without having to worry about all of the, going through all of the red tape that it takes in order to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the only, that's one of the biggest downsides to remixing or sampling. Is that like you have to go through clearances, and these companies will yank your videos in a heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? I never forget. I had to do two remixes back. This was like back in '08. So I remixed "Google Me" by Tiana Taylor, and I remixed "Lollipop" for Lil Wayne.
Oh yeah,
And you know what I'm saying? The thing is, it's like both of them, they had like, a lot of people would say they were better than originals. You know what I'm saying?
Nope.
But the problem was because they both were artists who were on major labels,
Hmm.
they were quick to yank them joints down. You know what I'm saying? So it was like I couldn't really push it the way that I wanted to push it, especially on YouTube. Now it's on SoundCloud, and I think that's the beauty of SoundCloud. SoundCloud is one of those platforms that kind of allows you to have a little bit more freedom so people can tap in with that level of creativity. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So, and I think that's important, but I also think it's important for us as creators to have music that we can actually push to the masses. And it's in these spaces like Spotify, it's in these spaces like Apple Music or YouTube, and we don't have to worry about somebody trying to yank it. What
Right.
all we want to do is be able to express ourselves and show that we can take a song that's dope and make it even better. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Or arguably make it better.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily to show up whoever did it before, but it's just to say we appreciate the artistry that went into this, and we want to like translate it in our own way, the way that our brains kind of break down sounds and would approach it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, yes,
Add our creativity to it. To the mix.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah. So, one of the things that I noticed reading up on you were like some of the people that you list having, what I'm saying, I don't know if all these people you've worked with
Mhm.
or the level to which you have worked with them, but like looking at your bio, of course I saw Wale, I
Mhm.
saw Ari Lennox, I saw Nucci. What I'm saying, like these are people who have either really laid down foundations for like the next wave
Mhm.
of artists from this area, or continuing to be on the rise, like a Nucci. You know what I'm saying? Like Nucci is somebody that like I really, really respect his pedigree of lyricism, but also staying close to home. You know what I'm saying? Tapping in with what's going on at home. You know what I'm saying? So like talk about your experiences with all of those artists and all of the artists that you've been able to work with, specifically that's from this area that's really making waves in the industry.
For sure, for sure. So yeah, with those first three, Wale, Ari, Nucci, those really came from TCB for real.
Mm,
Shout out Bounce Beats Kings. Like they a lot of artists get on with TCB really. So Wale gets on with them a lot. Whenever if he's in town and he comes to a show, he'll hop on a mic. Um, we had went to LA, did a show out LA, and he hopped on the mic out there. So
mm,
working with Wale was with the band.
yeah.
Ari Ari felt special because when we played with her, like we had covered Shea Butter, and then I guess
Mm,
somebody showed her the video. I think she reposted it on her page,
yeah.
and so then when she played at the 930 Club, she had us close the set with her. So we
Mm,
performed Shea Butter, and and she got to crank it with us. So that was dope, man. That
that
was
is dope.
news for real. And then she had us open for her in Atlanta at a show down there at this the Red Bull concert stadium down there. And
Mm,
so that was dope with her. And Nucci again got on with TCB. And then after I played with the band, I linked with Nucci again um, with through Made in DMV.
mm,
Shout out Bird and Made. They have a lot of writing camps, so they have something called Made Sessions where a lot of artists come through and just collab. And producers will play their beats, artists will get on. So I ran into them a few times there, and then we put a band together called Made Band for like a few gigs that we did, and we rehearsed some of Nucci's songs and performed his original stuff. With that band, and then I remixed one of his song called Move. So that's definitely a banger. I might try to re-release that. It's on SoundCloud and YouTube, but I'm
okay.
thinking, I got another album in the works besides like the original one. I got like a compilation. So I want to kind of put all the like some of the best artists from the city I work with on one. So
Mm,
put that out. So definitely I want to put Move on there. Another good artist, Bo Young Prince. I remixed
oh
his song
yeah.
called Chop. That's definitely another one I want to put on there. It's one I did with DB Bantino. I want to put that on there.
Yeah.
And outside the area, my biggest placement was really with Kodak Black.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. So how did that one come in? How did you come into that particular placement?
So with that, that was really just networking online, like just IG networking. Like I was following one of those producer pages, and you know how like when albums drop and they tag all the producers.
Yeah.
You know, it was something like that. They just when the Kodak joints drop, they tag all the producers. I'm just going through. I'm just following all of them. I'm just like boom, boom, boom. Let me follow all of them, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, whoever follows back, I'm gonna DM them because you know
Mm-hmm.
if they're not following you, they probably not gonna see your DM. So it's like once
Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna follow back, Move Music. You know, I DM'd him. I'm like, you know, like I'm down to work. He's like, cool, you know, send me some stuff. So, you know, I'm sending him stuff here and there. It's one beat I made. I put it on my story. I tag him and some other people. I'm just tagging like a bunch of producers who I know work with major artists. He was one of them I tagged on that story. I'm like, yeah, I can hear Kodak on this. Which
Yeah.
he's like, send it through. So then I'm like, boom, I sent it through. This is probably like the end of 2019. I sent it through, and then in 2020, or do I got the other way around? End of 2020, but yeah, but it was the end of the year. I sent it. A few months later, he's just like, yeah, take that beat down. Kodak's gonna get on it. Well, Kodak got on it. I'm like, oh, for real? I'm like,
That's dope.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, damn, how the song go? In my head, I'm just like, this really happening? I'm just like, because
Yeah.
that's all. He just texted me that, and that was it. And I'm just like, damn, like, all right, Kodak really hopped on it, but I'm like, I haven't heard nothing, and it's still some months go by, and then he's like, yeah, it's gonna drop on his birthday. And I'm like, hey, word. So I'm just like, yeah. So this dropped last year. So yeah, on his birthday, he dropped the Happy B-Day Kodak EP, and the song was called Glorious. So basically, the beat that I had sent them, he pretty much took the keys off it and flipped the keys around, and they pretty much remade the beat off of that, off the keys that they took and flipped. And then he got on it, and it was a song Glorious.
Yeah.
Dropped on the Happy B-Day Kodak EP.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Like to get a look like that from a major artist, you know what I'm saying? Like that's big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's dope, man. But I mean, like all of that, like that's just a great story in terms of like the people that you've been able to work with, like inside and outside of the area, you know? Because I mean, I think those of us who appreciate being from here, but see our purpose as musicians beyond the area, like that's the type of stuff that you look for. Those are the types of looks that you really hope for as, you know, as a creative, you know what I'm saying? Whether you're an artist, whether you're a producer, you know what I'm saying, or both, you know. So that's dope, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
Absolutely. So speaking of a song that like, or like something viral, I mean the Beatbox 2 joint, you know, of course we finna play that, but you know what I'm saying, and we gonna dig a little bit deeper into it once we come back. We gonna go into another music break, but you know, that joint, because that's another one of the first ones that I heard from you. And once again, and I'm trying to think, did I hear your version first before I've heard the original? I feel like I heard your version first.
I think that happened with a lot of people from the city.
Yeah. Because then when I heard the original, I was like, I mean, the original's cool.
Yeah.
But this joint, nah, this the one. Because it was like attached to like a video of somebody. I think they was dancing at like a metro bus stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was like, yeah, I can't hit the original after this. You know, I played original as a DJ, but I'm like, nah, I be wanting to play the Drew Keys joint because his just got that crank, you know. Yeah, man. So go ahead and introduce that to everybody, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna break it down for the people.
Okay, cool. So yeah, Beatbox 2, you know, unofficially known as the Junebug go-go version. Get into it. Y'all probably, if y'all don't know me, you probably heard this, even if you don't know me.
Yes, indeed. So we're going to go ahead and get into that. Then we're going to come back, break it down, and wrap up right here on the Maximum Sentence with his conviction behind the bars. Let's get into it.
Lego. shots to the face, don't trip on your
Two
legs.
on the key, so they not.
Mouth. Run away, I caught my bean like a years old. Shot you with had a stand low. Get him in the spot. Knock your dreads off. My waist comes flat. I can land the red bone. Ducking in my Reeboks. Ride with a T-shirt. I'm a shot. Triple make me boom. Keep me that shot. Roll this bottle with the car. I don't mind. Triple make me boom. In Miami with my heat. See, I don't be I'm all in the party. I'm on my big boom, ready to get started. I got no sleep, hold me the blood. Ride around with me, call me a cold. 24, and for her to know, got it, through the most. I get real gold, every time I see a girl. I got the way I pop a bean like a years old. Shot you with had a stand up, get him in the spot. Knock your dreads off, my waist comes flat. Land the red bone, ducking in my Reeboks. Ride with a T-shirt. I'm a shot, triple make me boom. Keep me that shot, roll this bottle with the car. I don't mind, triple make me boom.
Number with the just one in the head already beat caught. I popped out with a beat, I won't see you creeping on your block. I went to fast season, went 3 deep and got 2 people. I hit the auto switch and made it. They watch me bump. Got the drop on all this spot, he can rob it. Going on, I know the taste a little. Pull up inside the top. They put your head up, try to pull a move and then got me drop. Know what's up.
The way I pop a bean like a years old. Shot you with had a stand low. Get him in the spot. Knock your dreads off. My waist comes flat. I can land the red bone. Ducking in my Reeboks. Ride with a T-shirt. I'm a shot. Triple make me boom. Keep me that shot. Roll this bottle with the car. I don't mind. Triple make me boom. In Miami with my heat. See, I don't be I'm all in the party. I'm on my big boom, ready to get started. I got no sleep, hold me the blood. Ride around with me, call me a cold. 24, and for her to know, got it, through the most. I get real gold, every time I see a girl. I got Scratch your head. Shots to the face, don't trip on your legs. They're gon' make me beat. Scratch your head. Shots to the face, don't trip on your legs. I'm a shot, triple make me beat. In Miami with my heat. Run away, I caught me being like a years old.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just want to know.
Yeah.
This what I want to know off the rip.
What's
How
up?
hard when you laid that joint down and that joint was cranking the way that you wanted it to crank? How hard were you dancing in the studio when like you was done with that joint?
I was mad. I was with my man E in the studio and we just cranking. I'm just like, bruh, listen to this. And he's like one of my like day ones who like really watched me come up from like playing in my first bands. I taught him how to play the keyboard back then. Like we got old YouTube videos from like 10 years ago where we trying to make beats. So it's like the same type of beats I was making in like 05, but just like on a whole nother level. So we just in the studio, we just like make a beatbox. I'm just like going crazy. And I'm like, this joint really crank. I'm just like, like I don't know how I outdid Bust It. I'm just like, but this joint cranked harder. I'm just like, because the song was just already faster. And it was like, both of those had TikTok challenges too. So it was just like, I was going after songs that had good TikTok challenges. So it was like with Bust It, it was like, the challenge was like, girls was, once they bust it down, then when the beat drops and they switch the outfit. But I was like, I'm going to switch it to the bounce beat for that. And then for beatbox, you had Junebug doing the challenge, doing that. So I'm just like, okay, boom. That's another TikTok challenge. Let me just crank that up. and that
Yeah.
just had to drive because it's like when you hear like the original song, it's just kind of chill, but the tempo is really like once you double time it, it's just like
Right. Right.
it's just like
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, man. Yeah. When I it was awesome, like, I done heard it a bunch of times at this point.
Yeah,
But like when you really sit and listen to it, and like when you talked about earlier the whole thing with the bass, like understanding what the bass player does in a go-go band. And I'm like listening to the bass on this, I'm like, yo, yeah, that's it. That's so go-go.
Yeah.
Right there, like the way you played the bass on that joint and laid that joint down, I'm like, that's it right there. That's it, and it goes to that thing you saying. All of those elements have to be there at the same time.
They all
You
got
know,
to be. And even with that one with the timbales, I was playing the timbales to what he was saying. So it's like Draco make a beatbox.
yeah,
I got three
yeah,
shots. Like so, it's like all that was just gelling together. So it's like, yeah, I had like two different. A lot of times with these beats, I have like more than one pattern. Like I have three drum patterns in that beat. I got the pattern when the first hook comes, and then on the verse it's a different pattern.
right, yeah,
And the volleys switch up, the shots switch up, the bass switches up. The snare might stay the same, but the kick switches up too. So it's
right,
just, I'm giving you that the hook feeling with that beat, and then the verse has another beat, and then it goes back to the hook beat, verse beat, and everything is changing every time the beat changes. So it's just like that's how that's
yeah,
how, keep it fresh, keep that feeling going. And then at the
yeah,
end, outro, that's a whole nother beat. I think the outro beat was the first beat I made, but then I ended up tweaking the other parts so much, and then I moved that first beat to the outro, but then it
yeah.
worked because then I kind of like pulled back on everything and just like kind of just let the outro do its thing. But so yeah, it's like 3 beats in that song.
Yeah, yeah, and the genius behind that is that it's so smooth that if your ear isn't in tune, you won't even know that it's 3 different beats. It's so like subtle, but like from somebody who does produce as well, like I picked up on those subtle nuances. You know what I mean? And that's what makes it dope because it's funny. We had a conversation. This was Friday when we did our Friday night fights, Timberland versus Pharrell. And one of the things that my homie Shane was talking about with Timberland is that he does his best to like not make the beats that he does boring. He finds spaces to give you something different in those spaces so that it's not just the same loop the entire time. Like it might be subtle, but it's a change that like really makes it more interesting as the song progresses. You know what I'm saying?
I was listening to Say My Name the other day, and I hear his production on that, and like I even flipped that too. But like just hearing the original version, just listening to Timbo go off, I'm just like, man,
yeah.
Down, 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 down. Take it down, take it down. Like
Yeah.
easy on that.
Oh yeah, he did. Absolutely. And it's awesome like when you can appreciate other producers and how they move about and then realize that it's like whether it's consciously or subconsciously, we do a lot of the same things because we're creators and we always want to do our best to constantly reinvent ourselves or approach things differently each time around so that we don't become predictable. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, yeah, man. I love that joint. I love how going back to something else you said with Lean's Gone Cold, how there are certain parts where it's like you kind of sort of still hear him talking in the song, but it's like it's more the music at that point, and it's like you really vibe with like the crank part.
Yep, the crank.
Yeah, I absolutely love that because it gives you the opportunity to really appreciate the music behind it, and then the pianos also are very go-go. You know what I'm saying? Like it's there's a good chord there or good chord progression there, but it's still like go-go because of just the way that it's played and the way that it sounds.
Yeah, it's like that. It's a minor 9 that I like to play. It was like the da-na-na-na. 9 is like like you leave out the root note, but you play it in the bass. So it's just like dun 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 dun, like whenever you hear that, like some minor nine. But it's funny how we listen to songs as producers, because like before I started producing, of course I always loved music, but it wasn't until I started producing that I started listening to the songs, and I'm like picking it apart now. I'm like, okay, this the snare, the hi-hat, the kick, and it's like I just listen to music different now. And it's like I might hear a song from like an old school classic, and now when I listen to it now as a producer, I'm just like, man, like they really went off on this. Like,
Yeah.
what producer is, like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's dope. That's dope, man. So a couple more questions I wanted to ask you before we wrapped up. So
Yeah.
So music instructor. You're also a music instructor. I meant to ask you about that.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit more about that and how you approach music instruction differently than you approach everything else that you do.
Sure. Yeah, so I've been teaching for years now. I guess at a certain point in time, I was teaching full time actually. I worked with a company called BAMM Music that pretty much was like a median to source piano lessons, to in-home piano lessons. And then I started working with a company called Learn Now Music, and they did before and after school programs around the DMV, everywhere, pretty much everywhere in the DMV area. So working with those two companies, I was teaching full time. So it's definitely teaching kids is awesome, man. It's like, especially when they get it and they really they like the music, like when you can tell they're into it, and it's like they're really like appreciating what you're teaching them. So it's like approaching teaching, it's like, you really, most of the time when I'm teaching professionally, like there's a book that I'll go by. So it's like I'm going by like a curriculum, a book. I'm following along with the book. It might be when I was teaching full time, it was like a group setting in the school. So it might be like a group of between 5 even up to 20 kids, and I'm teaching them how to play piano, guitar, violin, or snare drum. One of those four. It might be just one, or it might be all of them. So it's like, it was kind of like even like a mini band. So it's like I'm teaching them how to play their parts, and then we might come together, play all at once. So so some of the same thought process goes into it, but you gotta just break it down to their level and just be able to teach them, and just be patient when you're teaching.
Yeah.
It's about patience. It's about breaking it down to a level that they can understand for real, and and you gotta be able to lead by example too. Even though like when I first started, I'm just like, I only play keyboard. I'm just like, I don't play all these instruments. But then I had to really learn. Like that's really when I started picking up a guitar, because I had to teach the kids guitar. And then I picked up violin, but violin wasn't really like, I just didn't really vibe with it like that. But with guitar, I'm just like, okay, I can kind of do this. Like I can stick with this. And then I ended up getting my own guitar, and then that led to me getting the bass and putting that in the go-go beats now. But it's definitely good experience teaching. I still teach a few private lessons here and there. Two of them, most of them are like on Zoom lessons, just like video call teaching, but I have like one in person. And then I'm going to be teaching with the musicianship next month. No, actually in February, where I'm going to teach like some 5th graders. I'm going to go over like the history of go-go with them, and teach some of my production to them at an assembly. So it'll be cool to bring that and actually bring go-go into the curriculum now for real. And I also teach production. I have one kid, she's like 10. I teach her how to make beats, and she's getting pretty nice now.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah,
Cool. I mean, we really need more programs and teachers when it comes to music, you know what I'm saying, whether it's in the schools or outside of the schools, because I mean, it's not the same as it was at one point when it comes to music in schools, because they took a lot of it out of the schools, or to the level that we were used to it. Because I mean, like when I was coming up, I mean, that was like life. You know what I'm saying? But now it's still there, but it's different. That's the best way that I can put it. So like to have people like you who really take it seriously and do the things that you said, like, you know, having patience, understanding that it is something that you do have to break down for people so that they can grasp it and receive it, because that's half the battle when it comes to teaching anything, is putting it on a level where people want to receive it and want to learn more about it and explore more about it on their own. It's like teachers are really kind of like the building blocks to people's curiosity, or they kind of sort of help to add building blocks to their curiosity, because I feel like people are curious on their own, but when you have the right people in place to kind of sort of help to guide you toward learning more and developing a skill or developing a talent for it or developing a craft for it, it's so important to have, you know, people like you who are willing to teach, because that's another key thing, that you're actually willing to teach, you know.
Yeah, gotta pass the torch, you know. And you know, teaching is a skill that you gotta learn. So it's like, you know, some people can be really good at what they do, but it's like to teach it, it's like, you know, you have to really say, okay, back up for a moment. Okay, how can I teach this person how to do it on this level so they can use it and, you know, get to that level. So, you know, yeah, good to have that tool set.
Yeah.
So shout out to all the teachers. Shout out to all the teachers out there. Like,
absolutely, especially, you know, the music teachers. You know what I'm
saying?
Especially
like, in high school, I definitely had, like, I mean, in like elementary school, I remember the music class and they're playing like flute and all that. But then in high school, I actually took a production class in high school. So like a little after I learned how to start playing keyboard, like with private lessons outside of school, and we had a production class at my high school. So then that's when I'm like, okay, this is cool. Like, they had like the MIDI boards, they had like keyboards for every student. So I'm just like, okay, boom, this is how you do it. Okay, like, you know, I was getting a feel for it. I'm like, yeah, I can do this. Like, after that, I went and got the program on my own laptop. Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, I can do this at home too.
That's dope. That's really dope. Which high school did you go to?
I went to Blair High School.
Blair. Okay. Yeah. The thing is, what's interesting is that I live in Silver Spring now. Like, I'm originally from the city. You know what I'm saying? But I live in Silver Spring, so like Blair, I pass that all the time.
Oh yeah. And I got a studio around there too. If, you know, I can have you come check it out. Like, right there in like Four Corners area.
Oh, that's what's up.
Shout out Blair. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. And what's funny, when you described that, all I could think is I went to I had to do an interview over at Bowie State University probably some months ago, and they had that same setup that you're talking about. Like, everybody had a Mac computer and everybody had the MIDI keyboard right there, and like they were learning. Yeah, you really can't. You know what I'm saying? To have that kind of a setup or that kind of a environment to learn music. Yeah, right. I mean, things have really advanced from when we were kids, you know, like, cause we didn't, like, in my era, we didn't have that, you know what I'm saying? Like, we had piano, but we had one piano. Everybody had to take turns, you know what I'm saying, going up to the piano, you know, but it was cool because it was like, one, it taught you patience because you had to wait your turn, but, you know, but two, I think there's a slight difference between when you learn piano on, say, like keyboards or MIDI keyboards, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not even saying that, but like, it's something about the feel of like a grand piano.
Definitely, like the way the keys, the way, you know, it's something just like when you play a grand, it's just like, it just feels majestic. It's like you got all 88 keys. You go all the way up down here, and you know, if you want a grand, you most likely learning classical music. Like, that's like when I first learned how to play. Like, I was learning how to read music. But then, you know, just started cranking with the bands, and I'm just playing by ear. But I was still learning how to read, but playing by ear at the same time. So I'm doing both. But I feel like if you're starting with the MIDI, you're probably starting to make beats off. You know, that's probably your main goal if you start with the MIDI. So you're probably learning for different reasons.
Right. Yeah. And I'm glad that you said that, because I think like, it's funny because I know a lot of people, they'll hear my music and they'll be like, you know, like, man, you're an incredible musician. I'm like, I don't even really consider myself like a musician like that. Like, you can't get me up on stage and like play keys. But because I understand how to put music together, like, I'm more of a play by ear guy, even though I did learn how to read music, even though I did learn the classical way. I think for everybody, they approach production differently. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, for different reasons or with a different purpose in mind. You know what I'm saying? I think that's important when it comes down to the process of production, because it goes back to the whole thing of not overthinking things. You know what I'm saying? Like understanding that you can put elements in it to make it full without doing too much to it. You know what I'm saying? But that does come from learning composition. It does come from learning some sort of theory at some point. You know what I'm saying? So
like sound design or whoever's playing instruments or whatever. Because you can take a couple sounds in your beat and you can just tweak them, put the right plugins on them, and then they'll end up sounding real full. And it's just like, okay, boom, I only needed a few sounds and the beat's already, or it's just like placement. It's just, or if you learn how to just work the program, some people don't even need a keyboard. Some people don't even need a MIDI board. They just draw the notes in on the keyboard, on the laptop or whatever. Just click and they dragging the notes in, and they just they just got the knack for it.
Yeah. Some people are really good at that. Really good at that.
I've heard some songs or seen some video breakdowns where it's like they're drawing in the notes, and I'm like, man, that sounds like somebody like just really flat out played that, who's been playing 10 years.
Yes, it's amazing what technology can do now. You know what I'm saying? What people can do with the technology to make it feel real, Yeah, man. Yeah. So, dang, I literally just had the other question on the tip of my tongue. I'm trying to remember what it was. It's literally like I was just about to ask it. Until I can come back to what I was going to ask you. So, people and genres, people that you have yet to work with inside and outside of the area that you want to work with, and genres of music that you want to tackle that, like, you want to bring your style to it that nobody would expect you to like flip somehow.
Yeah. So inside the area, definitely I'm trying to work with like the like all the DC like trap rappers, like the biggest ones, like like the Big Flocks, like Money Mars, all them. Like I'm trying to get if I feel like if I could get them like on like some trap bounce beats, like that's really gonna like do numbers, because like they got the youngins right now. So it's like so it's just like I feel like that's gonna light a fire to the production style. And then still inside the area, like I want to work with the OGs and go-go, if I can get like all everybody on some records, like that would be nice. Like this time around I wasn't really focused on features. Like I was just trying to just get the music done, but I do want to get all the greats on and get production with all go-go greats. And then outside the area, man, like I mean I'm aiming high. Like I need Drake, I need Pharrell, like I need hey, like I need all that. Like I had Kodak, like I need A Boogie, I need everybody. Like I'm kind of like reach for the stars as far as genres. I mean my main three would be like trap, go-go, R&B. Like those are three that I would really like. I can make like anytime I can bang those out. But some that I haven't really, that I want to get into more. I want to do more Afro beats. I've made some here and there, but I want to do more of that. Club. I'm liking the club music, the drill. I want to get into more of that too. So yeah, definitely want to tap into some of those more for real.
That's dope. Yeah, it's what's interesting about what you said about like the Big Flocks and the Money Mars and people like that. I think what would be dope about doing, working with them is that then I also feel like it establishes a specific sound for DC, because it's like what I like about what you do is that you fuse the two. You fuse trap and go-go together to make it make sense. And I think there's nothing wrong with the trap, because a lot of the artists that's from DC, they do it and they have a specific type of flow that they do. You know what I'm saying? But to then level it up over a beat that's like a perfect mixture of like trap and bounce, I think that's the sound that's really going to take it over the top for the area, especially for the new wave of artists that are out. Because I think one of the biggest things about DC and the DMV is that we haven't really, or we've gotten away from the sound that's really us. Like, I feel like a lot of artists, like, they have their own style that you know is from here, but the music doesn't necessarily reflect it.
Right. It would be dope to tie in, you know, the go-go with the trap, with all the, you know, with all the artists that's heavy hitting in the city. But there is a production style, like, shout out to like Turk, Sparking, Hustle, like all the producers that's doing it in the city. Like, I'll send you some tracks. There is a production style, but it's like you gotta really listen. It's like, it's one thing that they do. It's like, I think it's called like a 4-on-4. That's like the music term. It would be like boom, 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 boom. Like the drums will hit like that for like a whole 8, and then the beat will switch back to the trap beat.
Oh yeah. I have heard that.
Only DD does that. Yeah. So that's our sound for the trap. But definitely, I want to take that and just add more go-go into it. So that came from the bounce beat for real. But I just want to, you know, just add
I can hear
more
that.
bounce in there, like add some shots, and just get everybody on it.
Yeah.
I need a track with Wale. Because Wale, he already global. I need one with Wale. Man.
Yeah, that would be, man, that would be great.
Whenever we get the Wale features, like,
yeah, for sure. And I feel like if y'all could somehow make that happen, he would definitely, like, he would love to do that. You know what I'm saying? Especially because you have a line to him, probably easier, or I won't say easier, but more than a lot of people have, because you've actually kind of sort of worked with him. You know what I'm saying? So, like,
when we worked, it was like kind of through the band. I didn't really get to chop it up with him that much. But,
right. Yeah.
But definitely, like, he's on the wave. Like, he had a joint he had a bounce beat. He had like a trap bounce beat joint on his tape, on his last album. And Chris, T.O.B. got on that track. So, he knows the sound. Like, so yeah, it's going to happen.
Yeah. You just got to keep putting it out there and, speaking it into existence. You know what I mean? Yeah. So this is the last thing I wanted to ask you. So one of the things that I've appreciated about you, on top of the music, has been your social media presence and like how viral a lot of these songs have been. I mean, you talking beatbox, you talking the Erica Banks joint, you know what I'm saying? Even the Glorilla joint. Like I told you, it's like, I feel like if Glorilla comes to DC, I don't want to hear the regular version. I want to hear her do that joint to your version. Like, that's what I want to hear. But like, I mean, really talk about like what social media has done for raising your profile, on top of your profile already being there from, all of the, from really your illustrious resume of what you've done so far to, in your career. Like, how social media has really helped to raise that bar even more for you.
For sure. So I remember when I was playing with Changing Faces, we had a show up at Eastern Shore. DJ Drama was there. And like, I had this whole plan to like give him like a USB that had some beats on it and whatever, but I ended up like leaving the USB in a hotel room or something. So I ain't have it on me, but I was just talking to him. I'm like, what advice would you have for any up and coming producer? All he said was social media. That's all he said.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn. I'm like, really? That's it? I'm just like, all right. So after he said that, that's when I really started taking it seriously. And that was even before. That was like way before. It's like way before I was even making the go-go beats like that. That was, before I had even got with TCB. But at that point, that was when I really started taking social media seriously. And I'm just like, okay, boom. Let me make sure I'm just like on top of this. Like, let me make sure I'm posting. Like, I started having like a kind of little format where it was like, okay, I had like my logo and I had pictures cropped, and I just started taking it more seriously. And then fast forward to like now, like with the recent production, like 2020, like around when I dropped like Busted and all that, like I told myself I was going to post every single day. So I've been posting, at least the IG, I've been posting the IG every single day for like 2 years now, like since
Wow.
2020. Like I don't miss a day, even if it's like a BS post. It might be a meme about
Mm.
music, or it might just be something I don't know, something that didn't even really do numbers like that, and I posted it at 11:55. I'm like, just let me get one post off for the day. Like
Hmm.
I don't even think I posted one yet today. So like when we get off here, I'm probably gonna be like, okay, what should I post? Let me post something real quick.
Yeah.
So and definitely shout out to all the Beat Your Feet dancers. Like ever since I've been making the the bounce production, like they've always been tapping in, making videos to the songs. So that's
Hmm.
always a big help. Anytime a dancer makes a video, it's like boom, that's content to repost. Like let me repost.
Yeah.
And like with TikTok and everything, dances are was breaking music. So it's just like anytime a dancer taps in, I'm just like, okay, boom, let me repost that. Let me repost that.
Yeah.
It's like content I'm getting. It's like, okay, I can repost that. I can shout them out, repost that. And it's like, I know like now it's to a point where it's like, okay, like I know if I make something and it's crank hard enough, somebody's gonna make a video to it. And
Yeah.
also a lot of times people just send me random dance videos that they want to see go to. So every
Yeah.
day I'm just getting people just sending videos, and I just save them. And I'm just like, okay, boom. When I want to post something, I'll go back to my saved videos, and then I'll see, okay, boom, I take this funny dancing video, add some crank to it, and then post it. So it's just like, I just got like different kind of ideas for content already in my head. Like, I might.
Yeah.
So it's just like I'll just pull from that, and I'm just like, okay, boom, let me just make sure I'm posting every day, make sure, I'm staying on top of the stories, posting, and then now I'm trying to post. I'm trying to be more consistent on TikTok and YouTube now, but IG
Hmm.
I've been pretty consistent on that,
Yeah.
on the following. But I'm definitely trying to do more on TikTok and YouTube, and just
Yeah.
be all around with it.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I learned when it comes to social media is that you have to go where most of your following is, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying, and master that,
Yep.
quote unquote master, because I mean you really don't master anything,
Yeah.
but you get a better grasp on certain things than others. And once you kind of sort of tackle that, it's like, yeah, you kind of sort of branch out and do something a little bit different, because every social media platform is different. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like the way that TikTok moves is different from IG, which is different from Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Which is different from YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Like all of them have, their algorithms are different. The way that people receive your content is different.
Mm.
So it's like, yeah, it's one of those things where you really have to navigate the space. But I think with a lot of what you do, it can translate across a lot of the different platforms. You know what I'm saying? And it's just when I see somebody who understands how to navigate that space, um, especially when you think about how a lot of people don't always want to do it. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't gonna lie, like sometimes it gets hard for me to like post as frequently as I do it. I don't even post every single day,
Yeah.
but what I try to do is make sure that I post at least 3 to 4 times a week at least.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like constant, like content
Yeah.
that it's not like once a week or it's once every couple of weeks. It's like, nah, I got to stay consistent with it, especially on the platform that I know most people are connecting with me on, which is, same thing in your case is for me, it's Instagram.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So like, but yeah, just seeing how you move and how you do it and how creative you are with it, because like, yeah, you'll like, I love the joints where you got the, the dancers doing it, like the actual, people who beat their feet and all of that. But I love seeing the joints like somebody that's doing like something look like a river dance, and it makes the video even harder because it's like, yo, what if they really was like dancing to that music, like?
Right. He don't do some of the best numbers, like, because I feel like people just don't be expecting it, and they just be laughing so much and sharing it, like. But
Yeah.
me personally, I rather post the Beat Your Feet dancers because I know they really going in, they know what they doing.
Right. Yeah.
For some reason, people just like seeing like the goofy, funny stuff, dancing. But I feel like but outside of those, I just feel like I still want to keep me in it too. So it's like I'll
Right.
be like, okay, let me do a dance video or something. Like I'm not as good as them, but I could keep up a little bit. So let me hop in a video. So
Yeah.
or even just something just like something else, like totally non-related, like TikTok. I feel like TikTok prompts you for like a lot of like random things like there's like a lot of random trends on TikTok, and you'd be like, okay, people are doing this trend, this song, with this filter. I'm like, okay, let me do this, and then I could repost that on IG or something. Just something to be like more personable, because sometimes I find myself posting a lot of content, but it's like not me a lot of times, because I'm always posting like somebody doing something to my music or something, and I'm not in it, you know.
Right.
So like I gotta just think of content in like different ways, you know, just to be like well rounded.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's a great strategy, and what really separates you from a lot of people that I see on social media, and what makes your content interesting, because it's like it really is almost like a carousel. You know, like you'll get the funny video, but then you'll get somebody beating their feet, but then you'll get a joint with somebody, like somebody might actually, or you remix somebody's song that a lot of us do know in the area. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the layers that really make it interesting and make people tap in. So, you know, I definitely salute you for being able to navigate that space well, and for everything that you do, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you are one of my favorite people to keep up with on social media, and just period. You know what I'm saying? Like from day one, you've been cool. And you know what I'm saying, like it's been a pleasure to be able to support you in all the ways that I've been able to support you, and it's been a pleasure to, you know, have you on my platform finally. You know what I'm saying?
I know I popped in on one of the IG lives one time, and you know, was typing what you sending some questions or responding. You know, I'm finally on.
Yeah. This is definitely an honor to have you on, my brother. You know what I'm saying? As one of the most, you know, respected musicians in our area. That is still on the rise. You know what I'm saying? As much as you've done already, like you are still on the rise, your arrow's still pointing up. And, you know, I'm definitely excited to see everything that you got going on from here, my brother.
Thanks, appreciate it. Thanks for having me. You know, there's way more to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, this is the time where you can plug whatever you want to plug, whatever you got coming up. That you want people to know about, how people can reach you. I know you got a website, and you know you're all over social media, so this is your time to sell yourself, my brother.
Bet. So yeah, everybody check out my website, drewonthekeys.com. All social media, Drew on the Keys, TikTok, YouTube. Get me on you. If you subscribe to YouTube, I'm gonna subscribe back, because I'm on the road to 1,000. So yeah, Facebook, Drew Keys. Get me everywhere. On the 15th, I got a show at the Pie Shop on the 15th. That's Sunday, right before MLK Day. So pull up on me at Pie Shop. I'm gonna be doing some live arrangements, some bounce, a little everything, cover songs and all that. And stay on the lookout for the album. It's gonna be dropping soon, really soon. I'm gonna have a release party for that too. So stay tuned for that. And you know, might crank out another remix before the year's over. You never know. But yeah. Always got something coming.
Yes, sir. Well, once again, I'd like to thank you for coming on the Maximum Sentence. You know what I'm saying? Like, breaking the mold once again. You know what I'm saying? Last week was the first time we had like another lyricist who had nothing to do with any of my music on the show. This week we got a producer, you know what I'm saying, that like I've never worked with, but like he makes great music, and you know what I'm saying, and I just wanted to be, I want to be able to like open my platform up and share it with people who really focus on the conviction behind the bars, because that's what it's about with the Maximum Sentence, you know what I'm saying, and it don't have to be lyrical bars. Bars are beyond just the words.
Yeah,
so,
sure. You know, we're counting with the music too.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, man. So appreciate everybody for tuning in, whether you watch this on the live or whether you're going to watch this on the replay. Always appreciate everybody's support. Yeah, we're going to wrap this thing up, and we appreciate everybody for tuning in. We will be having another broadcast very soon. You know, I'll let y'all know a lot of these new broadcasts, they come up, they pop up, and I just put them out there. And I know y'all going to support and tune in regardless, because y'all are awesome. And so for myself, AJ Throwback, and my brother, Drew on the Keys, this has been another episode of The Maximum Sentence, where there's conviction behind the bars. And I will see y'all next time around. Peace, y'all.
My lawyer can't give me his advice when he's beast that I murder carry mandatory minimums of life. Yikes. In case you didn't get the point, we spit bars.